Hey, what's going on, guys? Your man Rekka back again from Anime Back When. Today, I want to do a unscripted, just ramble video on the original Dragon Ball from 1986. And cause I just finished. Well, no, I did not. A month ago, I finished rewatching it in honor of the passing of Toriyama and all of that. And man, I had a blast. I binged it all in like under 2 weeks, maybe like 10 days or something like that. And I really want to talk about it now. When it comes to the original Dragon Ball, a lot of people don't know. Like, it's incredible how much people don't actually know. And listen, is it subjective? Yes, but the original Dragon Ball is objectively probably the most holistically solid Dragon Ball out of any Dragon Ball series. Better than Z, above, damn sure above Super, and of course GT. Now, I remember when I was young, like I remember I was probably about this is probably about 2003, 2004. And at that point, I had already been a crazy Dragon Ball Z fan. But I had never heard of the original Dragon Ball. And then one day they started doing the reruns on YTV up here in Canada. And I couldn't believe that there was actually a whole show covering the younger years of Goku. So I remember there was a time for like a couple of years where during the week, Monday to Friday, somewhere between probably from 7 to 8 o'clock, they would play Dragon Ball, and then they play Dragon Ball Z right after. So for years, like I was really getting to see the dichotomy between the young Goku and the adult Goku, even some of the characters and whatnot. And so anyway, my nostalgia for Dragon Ball runs very heavy. So I kind of could speak on this as somebody that was exposed to both shows from a very early point. I think a lot of people just watch Dragon Ball Z and then they find out later about Dragon Ball, or some people ignore Dragon Ball. Like a lot of people ignored Dragon Ball when it was on TV, which to me is just crazy. I never could understand that. So many friends over the years that's like, oh, Dragon Ball sucks. Why would I want to watch Goku when he doesn't have Super Saiyan? Like, this is the stupid shit that people say out their mouth. But anyway, so I probably watched the Pilaf saga and the tournament arc, which is the first two arcs, the Tenkaichi, the World Martial Arts Tournament, probably like 10 times in my life, and it never gets old. There's something about that original arc, or that first 50 or so episodes where there's gonna be straight spoilers at some points in this video where Goku meets Bulma, or that beginning part where you see Goku kind of just surviving in nature, and then he meets Bulma, and then between Bulma hanging out with Goku and them looking for the Dragon Balls, eventually they run into first they run into the turtle, right? That stays at Master Roshi's crib, and then they meet Yamcha, and then from there they meet, or whichever order, from Yamcha they meet what's his name? Yamcha has par with with him, and then they meet Oolong. They meet Oolong, and then eventually they find Master Roshi, and then I always just really appreciated that building as far as the foundation, and even later on with Z, like these characters would still remain just memorable characters for later on. And then, of course, after the Pilaf saga and everything like that, Goku goes, to look for Master Roshi to train, and then he meets Krillin. Krillin shows up on the island, you know what I mean? And then that arc right there, or not arc, those few episodes right there where Krillin and Goku are training, like when they were in the woods with the fake little rock thing that Master Roshi did where Krillin snaked, you know what I mean? Goku and drew his own rock, and I always just loved that part of the show, like the early stages of the show, because what ends up happening is after the tournament, they get into the Red Ribbon Army arc. And I never really cared for the Red Ribbon Army arc, to be honest with you. I remember when I was watching it daily, it was that part with the big Frankenstein looking android, I think it's Android 8. Literally remember watching that with the maze and stuff like that. I remember watching that on TV at like 7, 8 years old. And then as it starts to get onto like Commander Blue or General Blue or whatever, and then I kind of never really appreciated that arc because I felt like it was too dragged on. because it didn't really necessarily need to go. Because if you think about that arc, it's a little dragged on because it goes from like what's the first place in the snow? Muscle Tower. Then Muscle Tower to General Red. I think Muscle Tower was General Red. Then Commander Blue, when they were going through that little water tunnel cave thing that had the robot that they fought. You know what I mean? And then from there, and then Mercenary Tao, which was a dope fight, but Mercenary Tao, and that, I don't remember how many episodes that was, but that was a very long arc. I think it went from like 40 something, 50 something, all the way to like 100 and something, you know? So I feel like that arc could have been shortened, and then, you know, by the time you get to like Fortune Teller Baba, you know, it's not like that little quote unquote tournament that she did, which, by the way, for those that don't know, I'm gonna call it, I think the Genkai little tournament that she did, that with the guy that looks like Chaozu, I think the Genkai tournament in Yu Yu Hakusho was ripped out of the Fortune Teller Baba little mini tournament that she did with them. You know, the guy that goes invisible, and you know, yeah. So then you have the Piccolo arc. Now the Piccolo arc is where it gets pretty intense, because see, the Piccolo arc is where Dragon Ball starts to turn into Dragon Ball Z, which is kind of funny, because this is where you have the fights that last like 10 episodes long, or this is where people just don't die, or you keep having reproduction going on. So like you kill one guy and then he morphs into it. Like this is where Dragon Ball starts to really start to turn into Dragon Ball Z, with the, even at the last tournament, with the fights that go on so many different episodes. Like, you know, I think the Tien fight with Goku was like at least 8 episodes. There was no real need for it to be that long. You see what I mean? But yeah, original Dragon Ball. And something I want to say about it, this might actually could easily be a top 10 anime of all time if you actually really think about everything that it has to offer. I mean, if you think about it, it has slice of life moments. You know, it has where sometimes you'll just see them hanging out with Roshi and just doing or like in the early, like even in the early episodes with Bulma and Goku, like where Goku was like patting her on that's more comedy, I guess, right? But Goku's like patting her on the private area. He's like, oh, where's your balls? You know what I mean? Those little stuff, or when they're, you know, watching TV and Goku's like worrying about, you know, when she was showing where Goku wasn't used to a TV, right? So Goku's not used to a TV, so he sees people inside and he's like, oh, they're trapped inside the box. You see what I mean? Like it has that to offer. Then it has comedy, of course. Then it has action. You know what I mean? There's some romance in there. There's the adventure part. The whole show is an adventure. You understand? And then it just goes on and on. It has everything all across the board. It has just enough. It's paced very well, even though the end of it starts to feel, especially that Piccolo arc, feels like Dragon Ball Z a little bit too much, you know. But overall, Dragon Ball is just, man, you know, I've always just appreciated the original Dragon Ball. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I started watching Dragon Ball Z again after it, and it just didn't feel the same. It just didn't feel, maybe it was because I really binged it too hard, you know, and then I watched like the Raditz are coming up to a little bit before Vegeta and Nappa. I'm gonna watch it, but before Vegeta and Nappa get to Earth, and then I kind of just burnt out. But maybe it's because I binged Dragon Ball so hard, so maybe I'll try it again. But you know, Dragon Ball, the original, there's some kind of charm about it, and the fact that it has everything all around that, and maybe it's the nostalgia, I don't know, but there's something about it that really, man, is very timeless to me, you know. And of course, like, there's so many moments in there. There's so many moments where you meet Tien, you know what I mean, and Chaozu. And Tien kind of came off kind of overpowered the first time, you know what I mean? Also, I never actually remembered that there was three tournament arcs in Dragon Ball. So there's the original one with Jackie Chun, you know what I mean? And then there's the Tien one, and then right after that was the lead up to Piccolo. And of course, Goku going to train. I remember the Korin Tower thing. I don't know why I always had it in my memory that when Goku goes up to Korin Tower, I always remembered it being like a 5 to 7, 8 episode long journey where Goku like was climbing for like 3 episodes or 4 episodes before he got to. I don't know. The dude got up there in like an episode. I never remembered it to be so quick. I always remember that Korin. I remember it being this epic thing where Goku gotta survive to get to the top. Man, you know, and it just it just kept elevating. Like first he gets to Korin, and then you find out the power pole is supposed to take him all the way up to Kami, which Kami translates in Japanese to God. But and Mr. Popo up there, and they end up training and this and that, and so many moments, so many great moments. You actually see, in case some of you guys don't know, I always thought that Goku was just a small kid, and then he just goes from a small kid to the big Goku, right? I always remembered it, but Goku and Krillin, but it more so shows with Goku physically. Goku actually grew pretty consistently throughout the show. So if you look at the early episodes, like the Pilaf arc, he literally looks like a little baby. You see what I mean? He looks like a little chibi. But there was actually a point like maybe after basically before he so if you let's measure it from like the second tournament arc. So this is gonna be like 120 something, right? Where he's fighting Tien. He actually is like a teenager there. Like he looks like, so he's probably about 14 or something right there. And he actually looks older, like he looks taller and stuff like that. I didn't notice that when I watched it in the past. But so yeah, he goes from like looking like a little baby to like a teenager, maybe even looking like maybe he looked like he was 12, 13, but he's like 14, 15. And then of course he just shows up. It's amazing how genetics work. He just shows up, this big full grown man, at the last arc, and people they didn't even recognize him, and then Krillin, you could tell Krillin got older from like when you first seen him, but yeah, he definitely didn't transform as much as Goku did, but man, I just for years I couldn't really watch it completely because 150 something episodes, like you got to be in the mind. But Toriyama dying, rest in peace to him, Toriyama dying kind of gave me the incentive to like tap back in, and because it's been so many years. But the humble beginnings of the Z Fighters and just the Dragon Ball cast, seeing Chi-Chi in her young years when she was small, you know what I mean? And then she actually grew too. You see Chi-Chi, in that last arc, she actually joined the last tournament, and let me actually talk on this too. The ending was kind of weird, how they ended Dragon Ball, because you would think, because I finished it for the first time. I always watched it to like episode 100 something in the past, like throughout my life, but then I always fell off before I could finish it. So I finally finished it when I was like 19 or something, 19, 20. And I don't know why I thought that Piccolo, lost and then the show ended, but there's actually like 3 or 4 episodes of foolishness, of like, it's almost kind of reminds me of, it's not actually the worst thing in the world, but it kind of reminds me of the Rurouni Kenshin or even Naruto after the canon is done. So there's like 3, 4 episodes after Piccolo's beaten and everything, like with the Bansho, what's the Bansho fan or whatever that has to swing out the fire. Like there's just unnecessary. There's a few episodes of unnecessary things with Goku and Chi-Chi running around after they got married, or I think it's right before they got married. I think they get married at the end. Do they get married? So write in the comment section, because I don't really. It was either they got married before and then they had those little adventures, or they got married like at the end of the last episode. I don't remember what it was, but and at that point, you actually don't even realize it until you get to the end of the show. The Z was always intended to have been a thing. Now I know it's in the manga originally was just Dragon Ball. You know what I mean? Whether Dragon Ball or Z, like the manga was always Dragon Ball. Like when the Z stuff started happening, it was Dragon Ball still. But like at the end of the last episode, right at the end, Fortune Teller Baba tells you like, you know, real work, or the narrator tells you.
The future? Well, it couldn't hurt to take a peek.
For the further adventures of Goku and his friends, be sure to watch Dragon Ball Z.
Just continue to see the future events with Dragon Ball Z. I forgot about that, you know. So, you know, that's part of the reason why the last arc of Dragon Ball feels like Z so much, you know, with the longer fights, and maybe that's the direction Toriyama was ready to take it in, you know. But man, so many memories, man, and it's always a pleasure to just sit back and just watch Goku go through his journey and just save his friends and just save you know. I remember when Piccolo had killed Krillin, or one of it was either I think it was Tambourine that killed Krillin, and the way Goku just ran off like that, and you know what I mean, even though he was not in the least bit prepared, you know, that's the foundation of people like Gon. That's the foundation of people like Luffy. That's the foundation of people like, you know, Yusuke. That's the foundation of people like Deku. You know what I mean? From My Hero Academia, you know, even Ichigo, like Naruto, of course, you know, and it's amazing to just sit back, go back and see from the early stage, not just with Z, from the early stages when he was young, you know. It really showed me how much of a impact that Dragon Ball, that somebody like a Goku has left on the anime community. You know, and I'm not talking about just us, people who watch, but the industry, I should say. You know, you can see Tite Kubo, where he got his influences from. You could see where, what's his name that did Naruto, where he got his influences from. You could see where Togashi got his influences from. You could see where Oda got his, and all of these guys have acknowledged Toriyama as the influence. But man, like when a lot of these guys talk about how they read the Dragon Ball manga, or they watched Dragon Ball when they were young, when they were in college, or when they were kids, whatever the case may be, right? You could see exactly that they mean when they say mean it. When they say that, they mean it. You could see in Goku, you could see that they mean it, because the young Goku, young son Goku, you could see his traits in people that have gone on to have their own success, characters that have gone on to have their own influence, you know. And it's just amazing me watching, just seeing how Goku is, you know, that aloofness when it comes to like, I don't even want to say his humanity. It's like, what is Goku? If you think about it, on the inside, what is Goku? Like, he has no fucking ego. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like somebody, like, you never seen a point where somebody said something to Goku and he just took it the wrong way and got upset and got butthurt. You never seen it. You never seen it at all. You know what I mean? So it's like, he's one of these guys, man. He, you know, even Ichigo, Yusuke, Naruto, they all have egos. The closest one to me, to Goku, is probably Gon. Gon is probably the closest to and I mean that in the terms of like with me talking about how Goku, like, you can't even describe what this dude is, if you get what I'm saying. Like, he doesn't, and it's not like he's stupid either. He's just kind of just a free spirit, and I think Gon is the closest one when I'm thinking about it. But and Luffy's kind of there too. Luffy's kind of there, but Luffy kind of has, like, you know, there's points in One Piece where Luffy will be, he'll move like he doesn't care when somebody does something that, but then he'll bust them in the back of their head and then laugh it off, and you know what I mean? So he kind of has a little bit of an ego. I hope you guys get what I mean, but yeah, man, hey, the stuff is cutting off now on me, so I guess it's time to cut the video off. But rest in peace to Toriyama. Much love, much respect to original Dragon Ball. And yeah, let me know, when did you see the original Dragon Ball? Do you like it? You know, I know a lot of people A lot of people don't like the original Dragon Ball because they just feel like it's underwhelming in comparison. But don't watch it for the explosions and the Super Saiyan and all of that. Oh, that's another thing. Also, in the original Dragon Ball, and I'm just gonna end this off, but in the original Dragon Ball, everybody basically can do Kamehameha, which is kind of funny. Like, nobody other than Goku and then Gohan does Kamehameha in Z or whatever. Like, that's kind of a Goku family thing, but everybody was doing Kamehameha in the original Dragon Ball. Krillin did it. Everybody did it. Master Roshi taught it. It's kind of funny. Tien, I think, could do it too. You know, or Yamcha, one of them was doing it. But anyway, do not go into the original Dragon Ball looking for over action and mountains to explode. No. This is more of an adventure with light martial art, and sometimes the powers and stuff get in there. But this is more so an adventure type of experience. So if any of you guys are fans of Goku, you like Dragon Ball Z and stuff like that and Super, but you've never seen the original, trust me, you want to see this, man. Like the video, comment down below, man. Thanks for watching Anime Back When.